Welcome to another episode of Message from Mom, where we're busting the myth that mothers in law aren't necessarily monsters in law. And this is a podcast where we dive into trends, current events, and a little sprinkle of that multi generational wisdom. You know, growing up, my mom had this thing about Hollywood. It was her guilty pleasure, her way of keeping tabs on a world very different from hers and ours. She'd sit there with her coffee, tuned into the Today Show in the morning or The Tonight Show in the evening. And she always had opinions. I mean, I'm telling you, that woman had an opinion or two. Back then, gossip wasn't just about consuming information, it was a way of connecting with others over the glitz, glamour, and occasional messiness of Hollywood. Because there's always some little scandal that's going on. And I think that still holds true today. Well, Mom, you'd love this week's hot topic because it's a little bit of drama, a little bit of law, and a whole lot of star power. We're diving into the Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively lawsuit. Two actors known for their charm and squeaky clean images, now tangled in a very public legal dispute. Now, if my mom were here, she'd already have picked sides, probably Justin's. Let's be honest. But she'd also remind me that Hollywood's lawsuits are often more about reputation than resolution. So we're not just talking about the legal nitty gritty here. We're unpacking what this means for their careers, their fans, and the way Hollywood uses a courtroom as a stage of its own. So grab your coffee, maybe something stronger if you're feeling feisty, and let's break it all down mom style. And I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts who happen to be my daughters-in-law. And I have Kelly to the left of me.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm married to Beth's oldest son, Alex.
And Chelsea to the right.
Hi, I'm Chelsea, and I'm married to Beth's middle son, Andrew.
Okay, ladies, before we get into this hot topic today, let's raise our glasses in a toast because we know you don't have to be a blood relative to love your relative. So you may have to do like air cheers.
Cheers.
And Oscar's joining us. Cheers. Okay. Well, I will back up just a little bit because last fall we had done a book club about It Ends With Us with Colleen Hoover, the author that was turned into the movie. Mm-hmm. Okay, I need to adjust my microphone. Sorry about that. Well, anyway, and things were just starting to rumble back then because during the premiere we noticed that no one was following Justin Baldoni on Instagram. Everybody had unfollowed him. And he was not next to Blake or any of the other cast members for the premiere. Mm-hmm. And now we know that he was actually in the basement with his family. He was actually not allowed to be at the premiere with all of the others. So anyway, let's fast forward to today, and you cannot escape this controversy. And we're going to talk about the court of public opinion because this is being played out over on TikTok. It's being played out on Instagram. It's being played out on YouTube. And I think we all have some very definite opinions about this. So, ladies, I'll just kick it off. So what do we have a side? Have we picked a side? Justin versus Blake? Because it is the
Side.
Court of public opinion. So, okay, Chelsea, lead it off.
I mean, okay, I think I was always on Justin's side, even when this whole thing started, because I feel like I was watching the past interviews of Blake Lively, and I don't know, there's just something, you can't go into every single interview and have that almost like narcissistic just attitude with every single interview and not have that be a little bit about your personality or a part of your personality. Mm-hmm. So I always was a little weary of her. And I mean, I don't want to say, who's to say, I think she just has like a very sarcastic personality, and it's almost like she tries to, like anytime she feels uncomfortable, she tries to play off the other person and make the other person feel uncomfortable.
Like a bully.
Like a bully. Mm-hmm. So I was always on Justin's side. But then after listening and reading more about the actual lawsuit and then what she's suing him on, and then basically all of the evidence that he has to back up that what she's saying is not true, I'm definitely on his side. I mean, he just seems like a really nice guy. I actually feel bad for him.
I know. I've felt badly for him from the very beginning because it was his production company that purchased the rights from Colleen Hoover to produce this movie. And he basically, when he started filming and Blake came on, it just seemed inch by inch, he was just being forced aside. And she was taking over this movie alongside, her husband, Ryan Reynolds, who is also named in the suit as well. So, and I will share with you, so those of you that are watching over on YouTube, so we always have foundational pieces and we will link those down below in the YouTube description box. But I'm telling you, there's so much information right now with this lawsuit, but we're going with, there was a piece from the Justin Baldoni's attorney, Blast New York Times story about Blake Lively's smear campaign. We also have what to know about the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni drama, legal complaint, PR accusations, and more. Blake Lively sues It Ends With Us director Justin Baldoni, alleging her harassment and smear campaign. Amber Heard speaks out, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
So Amber Heard speaks out about Blake Lively's allegations against Justin Baldoni. And then we also have Secrets of Disgusting Media and explosive new details about Blake Lively with Billy Bush and Bryan Freedman. So anyway, those on YouTube, again, it's linked down in the description box. So, and also, this was very interesting. In the past week, Colleen Hoover has deleted her Instagram account, which had 2 million followers. So I thought that was very interesting, too, because I think that she's been getting some heat as well, because she did pick sides at the premiere, and she sided with Blake, which I always found very interesting because Justin was the one that bought the rights to the movie years before it even went into production. And she was and Colleen Hoover, the author, was just all lovey-dovey, towards Justin, and knew that she was in good hands. The book was in good hands, and blah, blah, blah. Yes. So that was also very interesting, too.
It is. But on the other hand, like after having kind of gone through this same kind of he said, she said, Me Too movement style, accusations of abuse from a famous woman to a famous man. We saw it play out with the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp saga, which I totally was glued to the set of watching. But I think for someone like Colleen Hoover, when you take sides in a thing like this, if you choose to take sides, which I don't think anybody should be taking sides, who's famous with them, because they're just setting themselves up for problems. But and you kind of see that, but I think there's real fear among famous women to not take the side of the other famous woman that's making the accusation. I think after the whole Me Too movement thing, I think famous women, or people with public personas that are in a position to take a stance on one thing or another, I feel like they probably have a lot of pressure to take the side of the woman.
They feel like they're going to get canceled, or
or just not being a, what do they call, a supporter or a advocate or whatever.
I mean, I think. But I also think it's fair. I mean, at the end of the day, I think what Colleen Hoover should have done is, okay, if you want to take a side, fine. You need to get the facts first. So if you only have one side of the story, Blake's side of the story, there's always two sides to every story.
Right.
And I'm not saying one side is correct and the other side is completely wrong, or vice versa. Maybe there's correct elements to each side of the story. But you can't pick a side until you have all of the facts.
Right.
And then pick a side.
Right.
Exactly.
Which is why it always surprises me when other famous people that come out in support for their friends or co-stars or whomever they're coming out in defense of. I'm just like, gosh, haven't we learned this as a society already, that like social media will take you down in an instant if your opinion is different than what becomes the popular opinion? And but yet they keep doing it. So, that's on them or whatever. But I personally, like, I lean toward a side, but I, like Chelsea said, like, I kind of want to see more of the facts and more of what plays out. So I'll be interested if this goes to trial. I know it'll probably be a ways off yet, but I'll totally tune into that. because the Amber Heard trial was so hilarious in so many ways.
I'm just curious as to how they're going to find a jury that is completely unbiased
at this point,
because it's so, I mean, obviously they did with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I asked Andrew, I said, who do you think they're going to pick? And he goes, I guess a bunch of old people that aren't on social media. I was like, well, I'm like, they can't,
the boomers.
They can't all be old. And he's like, well, I guess they can.
That's funny.
It is challenging with, famous celebrity trials and things to actually get a decent jury and things that actually don't, are keeping sequestered and not paying attention to the media and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if it even gets that far. But they do seem to be kind of knocked down, drag out at this point, because it's really been going on already and new stuff is coming out, all these months later. So
they need to settle, because I personally think that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have dug their own grave.
I think so too.
I think that not only have they dug their own grave with losing this, if it goes to trial, I think they've dug their own grave in the future when it comes to getting any sort of, directing, producing, acting roles. Because who is going to want to hire Blake Lively?
I know. Well, I think Amber Heard now lives in Spain. And during that whole trial, part of it was trying to get her actually kicked off a movie that she had already completed her scenes for. It was the Aquaman part 2, I think. So they were trying to actively get her cut out of, what she had already filmed. So there are repercussions when it comes to that. I think what's really sad though is without having all the facts, and very quickly after certain things were brought to light, Justin Baldoni's representation dropped him. His professional representation dropped him. And that we've seen this kind of thing happen so much since the Harvey Weinstein thing, where people who are accused of something, no real facts have been brought to light, no real trial has been had, and yet certain people, men mostly, who have been accused of sexual harassment or making inappropriate comments or things like that, get dropped immediately from the representation. And I feel like it's just that in and of itself is a career destroying situation for them. And so coming back from that, I think is really tough for him too. Even if he comes out the winner in this situation, he's going to have to rethink his entire career.
But also let's look at that. So he got dropped, right? And it's like, sure, we can say the Me Too, but like the reality of it is who's the bigger star, if you want to say, in this scenario would be Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, right? I personally think Blake Lively is a B-list actress, but she married an A-list actor.
Yeah.
And I think she knows A-list people.
This is exactly what happened with Amber Heard.
Yeah.
Total B-list actress.
Like, she's not if you watch her in Gossip Girl, if you watch her in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, which is where she kind of got her start, she's not a great actress. Like, let's be real. She's very pretty. She's a very pretty girl. She models very well. She knows... Oh, I'm getting yelled at here. Yeah. Sorry.
We're not. We're in a new format, so we're still navigating our microphones that have to come with us.
But she knows Taylor Swift, right? Taylor Swift is the biggest pop star that we have in the entire world, and she married Ryan Reynolds, who,
although he wasn't an A-lister when they met, so he was still kind of. It was Deadpool that really.
But he's become a very powerful person in Hollywood.
He was. I think that both Bryan and Blake are dangerously close to never working again in Hollywood.
Well, he'll always have Mint Mobile.
That's right.
So,
wait, is that his alcohol brand?
No, he has it's a phone company.
They have a bunch of different, because she's got her hair care line. Apparently, I didn't even know this until I was watching. Someone posted this on TikTok, and I thought this was hilarious. But A Simple Favor, I think it was the movie with Anna Kendrick,
right?
Which Anna Kendrick, by the way, can't stand Blake Lively.
That's right.
But when they worked on that movie, there's a scene, if you've seen it, and basically she invites Anna Kendrick over to her house. She makes her a martini, and then in this scene, she essentially promotes Ryan Reynolds' gin or whatever alcohol he was having at the time. And then you look back in every single movie, it's like they're promoting something for themselves, which, you know what, good on
That's
you,
right.
because at the end of the day, we're all trying to make a buck in this world, but it also
placement.
just speaks to your character
That's
when
right.
everything's just about you.
That's right. They're shamelessly promoting their products. And that was one of the things that came out when It Ends With Us premiered. And one of the issues that people had with Blake was she was not treating the movie with the respect that it deserved. This is a domestic violence movie. And she was telling everybody, hey, girls, get your florals and, and come to the premiere. And we're just going to have this really good time. And then she was promoting her hair care products and, whatever else that she could. And it was just like, and that's why, to me, it was very astonishing that Colleen Hoover picked her side right away, because I was very astonished that a subject that she had written about, a very sensitive topic, was being treated with like it was a rom-com.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a rom-com at all. It was a romance. And then we can actually segue into this, because it was a romance and it also had sex scenes, because it was originally written as a romance novel, which are known for their sex scenes. So I always found it very interesting that an actress that hires on for this type of movie and then is complaining about sexual harassment with her co-star. I just find that very interesting, because did you not read the script? Did you not read the book? Which I guess she didn't read the book before she signed on.
She didn't. And she also went on record as having rewritten scenes, and that I think she even said that Ryan Reynolds wrote a scene, which I think upset Colleen Hoover when she first heard about it. But I think one of the things, there's so many weird paradoxes with these, with what we're finding out about things. So it's a movie about domestic violence.
Yes.
Even if Blake Lively, which she has come out and said that when they had written the press briefs for promoting the film, their strategy, this is according to Blake, their strategy was not to focus on the sad side of domestic violence and the violent side of it, but to try to focus on the women empowerment that you could get from the way that the movie turns out, where she chooses to not be in that situation anymore, right? So from her perspective, the way she tells it is that she was doing all this press being positive and like women power, blah, blah, blah kind of thing. And which I think is a fine read of things, if that's what the promotion company wants to do and that's what you guys are being counseled to do. There is that aspect, which fine, focus on that. However, there are some specific interviews. There was one I can think of in particular where a man is interviewing Blake and asking her, like, trying to get her to like talk about the seriousness of the issue. And she kind of like skirts the issue a few times. And then he finally says to her, well, if someone's actually struggling in this situation, how can they reach out to you? Like, how can they look to you as a role model of someone who, has something to say about how to not get yourself in this situation or to get yourself out? And she responded in this totally flip and bizarre way where she was like, well, what should I location share? Should I give them my email? Like she was
like, should I give him my phone number?
She was super antagonistic and like weird about it. And
yes,
you could tell the guy like looked totally befuddled. He was like, no, I was actually being really serious with that question. Well,
and her co-stars, you can tell, what is the actor that played, not Ryle, but the other.
Oh, Brendan Sklar or Brandon Sklar.
So
Sklenar.
That he is completely in all of these interviews that he does with Blake.
Right.
He's just sitting there like, what in the world?
But interesting. He came out in support of her though.
I know.
Through this whole thing.
But also what's weird is then there's an interview that has recently been circulating on social media where they brought in Ryan Reynolds to interview him. And Hugh Jackman.
Why?
Why is the real question? Why is Ryan Reynolds even here? Like, why are you here?
It wasn't his movie at all.
His movie, but this is where I'm gonna like come out and say, is it Blake Lively that is the bad person, or is it Ryan Reynolds? And actually, I think Ryan Reynolds is stirring this entire pot, and I think that Blake has got herself swept into something that maybe she's gone along with because Ryan is like, oh, we're doing this. And now she's probably like, oh, shit. But I really do think Ryan Reynolds is the pot stirrer of this, because when I watched the interview that he did with that one actor, Brennan
Sklar.
Sklar.
I can't. I mean, it's
Sklenar.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, like he literally asks this Brennan guy. He goes, oh, so what do you call Mrs. Reynolds on set? Or he starts it off and he goes, it's not every day that you get to sit down and interview your wife's love interest from a movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I know, that's just very bizarre.
We're acting, first of all. Like,
I know that. Well, that's what's so bizarre to me. It's like you signed on for a movie. You are an actor. You know that there are going to be sex scenes in the movie. So you're going to have to perform whatever the script is asking you to perform. So that's why I'm having like such a hard time. And yes, and Ryan Reynolds, coming in and bullying his way and like taking over interviews and then supposedly rewriting scenes, and he's not even involved in this. But
he met Blake on set. Green Lantern was it? Mm-hmm. And Ryan was still married to Scarlett Johansson, which Scarlett Johansson is actually laughing her ass off right now.
Karma is a bitch, Ryan. It's
She's
a
in
bitch.
The corner like, ha, ha, ha. Now you see, Ryan is actually, you know what is crazy? Ryan's like the real life Ryle. He is literally like the real life Ryle.
Oh, from the movie. Or
from that's
movie.
Interesting.
Well, they had that Wolverine, the movie that Ryan Reynolds was in, the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, came out 1 month before this. So you can tell that there was some kind of like promotion that they were trying to do between the two of them. I remember kind of at the time them showing up to places together and it being like this kind of dual thing. 2 movies couldn't be more different than those 2 movies. So it's really kind of weird that the connection that they're making between the two is just the fact that Blake and Ryan are married. I mean, it just doesn't really make sense.
Although
publicity-wise, it doesn't.
It's very interesting because there is a scene in Deadpool where, and now Justin Baldoni's attorneys are putting that together in their case. So there is a scene where Ryan is clearly making fun of Justin Baldoni. And it's completely backfiring on him right now. It is with this lawsuit, and then also being played out in public opinion. But I'm with you with Ryan Reynolds. He's the one that's engineering this. There are 2 mainstream, and they're very big over on YouTube. And one is Megyn Kelly, and one is Candace Owens, and they are taking this on, and they're taking Justin Baldoni's side, and actually it was Candace Owens, and she was the first one that really came out against Amber Heard. She was one of the first ones that put that all together. Like, okay, let's take this case apart little by little, and let's really see who the villain is. And so she pointed out Amber Heard. She was one of the first ones that did that, and she's also one of the first ones that pointed the finger at Ryan Reynolds. It was Ryan Reynolds, and he is the one that's engineering all of this. And that it's woefully going to backfire in both he and Blake's faces.
I think that, and I don't know if this is, I mean, this could be a stretch, but I don't know, because there obviously are a lot of text messages that have come out between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, some of which you could maybe say, that's a little weird. Like, I think there's one text message, and Blake says, in her, case of the lawsuit, she's like, oh, he would barge into my dressing room while I was pumping or breastfeeding, and it was so inappropriate. And then there's literally a text message that she wrote to Justin Baldoni stating, hey, I'm pumping right now. Come by and we can read lines.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. There's a paper trail.
There is
definitely a paper trail. And Justin hired a firecracker of an attorney, and his name is Bryan Freedman, I want to say.
Freedman.
He actually represented Megyn Kelly years ago in her famous lawsuit and won. I mean, there is no holds bar with this one. And that's why Bryan and Blake's attorneys wanted to put a gag order on Justin's team, is because they're actually releasing these texts, and they were actually going to put together a website with all the texts there in its entirety, because supposedly the New York Times article, and that's what kind of started this all off, was when Blake, she hadn't a lawsuit against Justin yet, but she had brought claims against him in California. and then also leaked things to the New York Times, and then they had a very unfavorable article. But it's already been proven that the text that the New York Times had produced in their article had been doctored.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when Justin's attorney now is like, "Hey, let's go. You want to go with the truth? Let's go with the truth." And so they're releasing everything, and so they wanted to have this website. I'm not exactly sure where we are on that, because that's when Blake and Ryan's attorneys came along, and they want a gag order now. But
Which
boy,
is hilarious. I'm kind of Candace Owens,
right?
her Instagram stories, because she posted a series of Instagram stories that obviously weren't saying that Ryan Reynolds is the real villain here. Yep. Of course, all of her stories said allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Right,
so
allegedly.
that she doesn't get tied into this. But
yes, I mean, because nothing's been proven yet. But there again, it's at the court of a public opinion right now.
Yeah,
and Blake and Ryan are not looking very good.
I also think that maybe Blake. Well, okay. Here's my thought: is I think that Blake. Maybe, I don't necessarily know if she caught feelings for Justin Baldoni, or if she was there was starting to be a little bit of a weird flirtation situation happening.
I like your theory. Go on.
And I think that Ryan is very aware that he met Blake on Green Lantern when, Blake was dating someone else. He was married to someone else. They obviously got married. I think Ryan is a very controlling person, clearly. I think that he's a very jealous person from all different interviews that people have stated that he is. And I think that he was on set a lot, and I think he saw that with Justin and Blake. Now, I don't think Justin caught feelings. I think that he was very professional, and you can see that in some of the scenes where immediately when they say cut, he goes off. But I think Blake either A, was trying to save her ass with her marriage and was like, no, like he was harassing me, and then Ryan made it this big thing, or Ryan just was like, oh, we're going to stir the pot. Oh, hell no. You're not about to come anywhere near my wife. I will take you down. Yeah. And he didn't get all of his facts straight. And like, he probably also didn't realize, or he just chose to ignore all of these text messages and all of these proof, where Justin Baldoni's wife was like, you better save all those text messages because she's a mean girl and you're going to need them.
Yeah.
So that's my theory, but I don't know.
It's a fun theory. I think it's a fun and totally plausible scenario, because I do think those raw emotions like jealousy, especially if you have the power, as famous people often do, to, take someone out.
Yes.
Just in terms of their reputation or smearing them or whatever.
Yes.
I think those sorts of feelings can be exploited and blown up to a level of like career and life ruining proportions.
Yes.
So that wouldn't be surprising to me at all if that was really what was at the crux of all of this.
Because I do think that that's what Bryan and Blake were trying to do when they just put in claims in the California court system. I think that was them shaking their stick at Justin. I don't think they ever expected in a million years that he would come back and slap them with a $400 million lawsuit and hire the attorney that he did to fight back. I think that was just that they really just, I mean, this is
they
me.
They thought he was going to cave. They said, oh, this man is going to cave.
They're just going to cave because we're Ryan Reynolds and we're Blake Lively. And
but good for him. Honestly, good for him.
Isn't the lawsuit from Justin only toward the New York Times at this point, or has he filed his own separate lawsuit against Blake and Ryan?
I
think because the lawsuit that he filed was to the New York Times for inaccurate reporting.
It definitely is against the New York Times, but there again, his attorney Brian Freedman has been also talking about not only suing Blake, but Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, it'll
so
come.
I don't know if that's
to that.
Yes, I don't know if it's that is the official part yet, but his attorney has been speaking to that.
Yeah,
but that was the next thing in the pipeline. So,
I
but
think
first it was he was fighting back against that New York Times article that Blake and Ryan had leaked the text messages to, and that were also doctored.
Yeah.
So
So what I do like, I do think that your theory is fun to consider it just in terms of like when we think about like, ooh, what could have spawned this? But something that is worth noting too was that even though Justin Baldoni was the director starring in the movie, bought the rights to it, and basically started the movie project of this book, it's interesting that the entire time of shooting, Blake Lively had been working extra hard to basically take the movie over.
Yes.
Um,
From the get-go.
whether it was rewriting certain lines, making, sometimes outrageous, obviously claims, but, you know, reaching out and saying that this thing isn't good enough and that thing isn't good enough. And I'm going to wear all my own clothes for the movie shoot. And we're going to do it on my schedule and it's going to be how I want to do it. And then even going so far at the end of the shooting process to actually edit her own version, which cut out the editors that were actually hired to do the editing for the movie. Meanwhile, the whole time, Justin Baldoni is basically just pleading with all the rest of the people on the set who are like, this is so effed up. And he's just like, let's just give her what she wants. We'll get through this. We'll figure it out. But we need to just keep her part of the film, keep it going, blah, blah, blah. So he was basically kind of rolling over in a lot of ways and just letting her have her way. Part of me wonders, did he already know what would happen if he didn't let her have her way, which is kind of what's happening right now.
Well, the text message, that's
okay, yes.
between.
Well, yes, we can back up and so we can talk about a text message that she sent to Justin at the very beginning of the production. So she had called him over to her home, and then when he arrived, Ryan was actually seated in the office, and so he wasn't expecting that. So I mean, can you imagine going over and kind of being ambushed? Okay, so her husband's there. Okay, I'll roll with it. I mean, what are you going to do at that point? You're still trying to get your movie produced. You're still trying to be professional. So okay, so I'll talk to him. And then who should walk in a little bit later was none other than one of Blake Lively's besties, and that was Taylor Swift. And I can only imagine what Justin's thinking. I'm sure. I mean, I would be like, what is going on here? Not only is
literally
Ryan Reynolds here, but now Taylor Swift. Well, hello, Taylor. Come on in, and we'll just be talking about the movie while you're observing.
Why are you here? Well, and then she sends a text message to Justin Baldoni that basically says, which the fact, first of all, I don't know how big of a star you need to be able to send this text message, because I cannot even imagine sending a text message like this to someone.
It was just
basically
creepy
she says,
and weird.
Well, I'm Khaleesi, meaning Khaleesi from Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, right? Who's like one of the most powerful women ever to be written on the screen.
Yeah.
So she's the mother of dragons.
And then she's like, and I have my two dragons. She doesn't name Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift, but it's very evident that that's probably who she's talking about. And basically she says, I typically get my way, and they're going to make sure that I get my way. Yeah. And if you're on my side, then it'll go well for you too.
Yeah.
What?
I know it. I mean, can you imagine getting that text after you just had the meeting? So it's like, okay, yes, Blake, I will come over to your home. Then there's
I wouldn't even respond.
There's her husband.
I wouldn't even responded to that if I was
meeting.
him. I would have been like,
I know,
and ignore.
I know, that was just like that's just all sorts of creepiness right there, and a narcissist.
Well, I just think it's really crass to like start to bring your even more famous than you friends into a situation to try to beat up on someone that and ambush them. I think it's just it's really
well, it doesn't
poor behavior,
so unprofessional.
Yeah.
It's
also
just
so
makes
unprofessional.
Taylor Swift. I mean, Taylor Swift, I don't think she's come out at all in regards to this. I don't know if she's made a statement. Maybe she has.
No, not that I know of.
But I mean, that's not really a good look for Taylor Swift.
No.
To be like, I'm going to use my pop star fame.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm all about
to intimidate you into doing what my friend wants you to do. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm all about backing your friend up if your friend is clearly in the right, but
behind the scenes, not manipulating the situation. I mean, what I mean by behind the scenes is support Blake as your friend. Like, listen, I get it. talk about it, but don't come and try to interfere in a movie that she has nothing to do with.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
I know.
a little insane.
Yeah, it was.
It'll be interesting to see where all this goes and what more comes out. I do hope that Baldoni's lawyer is successful in stamping out this gag order. We'll see, though, because typically if you want to take something to trial, gag orders will be upheld to keep the public from being able to form an opinion because, again, with a jury.
Right.
So it probably won't ever, fully come to light until we see transcripts from a trial.
Well, I think some of the there's a person I follow on TikTok, and he's been he doesn't get paid to do this, but he did like a 3 or 4 part series all on this lawsuit. And I mean, he basically broke it down. He read the entire thing front to back, broke it down in all of his videos, and then came on with another video after he did like his 4 or 5 part breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, hey, if my TikTok gets deleted, this is why, because I guess they had already had like several TikTok accounts deleted because they were breaking down these lawsuits.
Oh, interesting.
And everyone in the comments is like, Blake is, throwing her hands up in the air that the TikTok ban didn't last.
Right.
Because like, ooh, something that really could have worked out for the benefit
people
of.
will comment and they're like, do you think that she's watching these videos like we are all watching these videos? Like, oh crap.
Probably.
I think that she is. I do. I think she's probably trying to figure out, where the public opinion is, and it's definitely not on Blake's side.
But at what point in time when the movie came out, this is where I would say to myself, maybe we just need to back off. Let's give it some time. I'll reboot my, character and personality and my persona to the public at a later date.
Mm-hmm.
But you've already gotten a ton of backlash from how you acted in these interviews.
Right.
Yeah.
So you thought that doing this and then not having the evidence to back it up was going to make it better?
Right.
But then also having all these snippets of her being really aggressive and bullyish to interviewers.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear the one? This is so trite, but did you hear the one where a lady was interviewing her and she said, "Oh, by the way, congratulations on your baby
Yes.
bump." And then she was like, "Oh, you too, congratulations." And she's like, "I'm not."
right.
She wasn't even
That's right.
pregnant. It was like really mean. That was such a
It
mean
was
She
thing.
does
very
that
mean.
there was another interview where it was a male interviewer and I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Jimmy Fallon, but like a late night show.
Mm-hmm.
And she was legitimately pregnant. She was showing pregnant. Everyone knew she was pregnant. It was public.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, congratulations, on the exciting news." And she's like, and then she like looks down at her stomach. Like it would be like me looking at my stomach right now. And she looks down and she's like, "Oh, you mean I didn't get this bump from like eating a bunch of cookies?" Like, "Oh yeah, I just ate a bunch of cookies." Like that's not something that you say to a woman.
I know.
And the interviewer is like,
I know.
"Oh." And then she's like, "Oh no, I am pregnant." What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that any of these things, when you take them in totality, add up to somebody who has a very generous or kind personality.
No.
So it's not really
No.
surprising that this is,
And
going the way that it's going.
And it was that interview that you just brought up, Kelly. So she was a Hollywood reporter, and she's been a Hollywood reporter for years. And so this was an interview about maybe even 8-9 years ago. It was
Was that with Anna Kendrick?
no,
Oh no.
no. It was with
I can't remember the
I
name
can't
of
think.
the,
I think it was a Woody
yeah.
Allen film. Wasn't it a
Okay.
Woody Allen film?
I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, anyway, her name is Kirsty Flaw, and so she has saved all of her interviews throughout the year. And so when the whole rumblings of the It Ends With Us premiere started coming out, she actually released this, and then that's when
She's been waiting.
I think
right
she
moment.
was.
She knew that the time would come.
But seriously, that's when public opinion started to shift because
Yeah.
everybody was really on Blake's side at the beginning, and like, because Colleen Hoover had picked her side, and all
There
of
was
the
a lot of
co-stars.
bad. I mean, in the publicity for It Ends With Us, like it started like within a day after the premiere of people being like, "Why is she acting so weird about this movie when she talks talks about it. So it definitely was like on people's minds. So
Right.
for that reporter to release her bad
And
interview
she did.
situations,
She released it right
timing.
away, and then
Yeah.
had millions and millions of views. I mean, it went viral, but it really does point out how rude Blake can truly be.
Yeah.
And so she shot back. So the reporter said to her, you know, congratulations on your bump. And so she's like, and she just shot immediately back, well, congratulations on your bump.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, how, I'm sorry, who would think, you know, to say that? Why can you not just have manners and just say thank you very much? And then come to find out that reporter has a history of infertility and has had a very sad history of actually wanting to be pregnant. I mean, of course, Blake isn't going to know that, but this is where we actually just have to
Be kind to each other.
yes, be sensitive, kind, and
also-
just have manners. Blake and the other, and I can see her. Oh gosh, I could see her face, but I can't think of her name. But anyway, you're paid for these promotions. That's what's part of your job as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
When you sign up for a movie, you go out on these press junkets and just have manners. What is so hard about that?
Yeah. I mean, it just also, why would you not? I just don't understand every interview, like when she is pregnant, and obviously she's been pregnant a lot, why she has to make it a thing.
Right.
Say congratulations. Why are you making this like weird?
I know.
Yeah.
Like that's such a weird thing to, if you are pregnant, like, and you wanted to be pregnant and someone congratulates you, like, this
Say
is an
thank
exciting
you.
time in your life.
It
Why would
is.
you not just be like, oh my gosh, thank you so
I
much?
know.
Well, maybe,
I know.
yeah, I don't know. It's that kind of attitude that's like,
Mhm.
well, if she ever got on a crowded bus and was 8.5 months pregnant, I hope no one gave up their seat for her because
That's right. She
she
obviously
clearly doesn't want anyone to
No.
like make a fuss over her being pregnant. So
That's
Just-
right. Yes.
yikes.
And in that same interview, she basically doubled and tripled down on just being rude
Yeah.
to this
She did.
interviewer. And so that really just shows a side of her that can be,
Well-
as you said earlier, Chelsea, very mean girl. She's a
So
mean girl.
there's people from her high school that
they're
are now
coming out
coming
now?
out
Oh,
on
really?
TikTok.
Uh-huh.
And there was this one girl that I came across, and she went to the same high school as her. I don't think that they were the same year, but I want to say that Blake was maybe a few years older than her.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe when she was like a sophomore, Blake was a senior, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the girl says it in a nice way because she's not trying to get pulled into this, and like everything's allegedly, you know.
Yeah.
And basically, she says in a roundabout way, everything that's coming out about Blake Lively in her interviews, how she's acting, is all basically how she acted when she was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she was a senior in high school when Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants came out.
Mm-hmm.
So she might have filmed it when she was a junior,
Mhm.
right? And then I think the actual movie premiere and like the movie aired, which actually I actually loved that movie. That was a pretty big movie at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically her, you know, besides, I think Gossip Girl maybe came out after that.
Was it? That's what I
So
was
Sisterhood,
wondering.
the Traveling Pants, I want to say was her like big, you know,
Big break.
big
breakout
break
role.
because you had the girl from Gilmore Girls. What's her? I don't know.
Alexa.
Alexis Bledel. You
Mhm.
had another girl that was on Disney
America.
Channel. Yep.
I can't
Yeah.
remember her last
Ferrera.
name. Yes.
Yep.
Ferrera.
So they were all in it.
Mhm.
So it was a pretty, you know, a cast that was pretty good. And the movie itself was, you know, a cute little movie that came out. But basically when she was a senior, and I think if she was already like that, and then as a senior, you're coming out, she's probably already the popular girl, right? Because she's very cute. She's very pretty.
Mhm.
She's tan. She's blonde. She's probably, I don't know if she was on the cheer team, but she was doing acting. Everyone knew that. And then you add in all of that. I mean, her ego had to have been,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know.
Well, she comes from a show business family, so her mother is a talent agent, I believe.
Oh, so did she grow up in LA?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She went to Burbank High School, I think is
Mhm.
the high school.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she was
Hollywood girl through and
yes,
through.
through and through. But I do know on Gossip Girl, I mean, they're again just showing her stripes at a very young age. So Gossip Girl, she did not get along with Leighton Meister.
Oh, yeah.
It was a
Leighton did
very
not,
Yes, it was a very serious.
which is hilarious because
Mhm.
Leighton played the bad
Mm-hmm.
girl.
Oh, really?
and
Uh-huh.
Leighton played the mean girl in Gossip Girl,
Right.
but truly the mean girl was
Was Blake
Uh-huh.
Lively?
Blake Lively.
Yes. Yes. So and then it really it does seem to be a pattern
Yeah.
in her life as I said earlier, I mean, she and Ryan have just basically doubled and tripled down. And I think that I'll be very curious to see if they settle this before it goes to trial. I think that they probably will.
Hopefully, if they have good counseling, they will, because I don't think they're going to win it if they go and it's just going to be kind of a shit show, just like Amber Heard.
And Johnny
I would
Depp.
love to be a fly on the wall in their house right now, in Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's house.
I know. I would be very curious too, because if they are tuning in, I mean, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, you cannot go on any social media channel and not be inundated with the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively lawsuit. I mean, it's just everywhere. Everybody's talking about it, and everybody has an opinion about it.
It's also just, with Justin Baldoni's wife, I think her name's Emily. I feel bad for their family because I think they've been married for 11 or 12 years now at this point. They have like 2 or 3 beautiful, kids. They have a great life. It's very clear in all of the things that she posts with Justin and that he posts about her that they are very much in love. And then for you as an actress to come and say that he was sexually harassing you, if this is just a way for you to get around, and to save your marriage or to do whatever you're trying to do, I just think that's terrible because you're basically trying to ruin his life because then his wife is going and, I mean, I'm sure that she was fully supportive of him, but there had to have been one split second in her mind that she thought, oh my God, did my husband do this? You know what I mean? Like any wife would have thought that because you're seeing everything that's coming out. There had to have been one split second where she thought, holy crap, did my husband sexually harass her? What's going on? Who am I married to? I have 2 or 3 kids with this man, and it's like, you're not just ruining his life, like you're ruining an entire family,
Well, and not even just for whatever feelings of doubt may have come across his wife's mind. More so probably is the fact that most people, once they get Me Too'd and they do not come back in Hollywood very well. There's only been a couple who have been able to like overcome and come back. And so that's, I mean, a livelihood is ruined, and he's so young for his career to be totally shut down because of something like this, like with young kids and a wife and whatever. I mean, that's rough. So hopefully justice will prevail.
I know. I hope
and the truth will win. So.
Well, if it does go to trial, it will have all of the earmarkings of the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial.
Oh yeah, it will, and it'll be just as fun to watch, I'm sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies. So have we picked a side? I mean, I've already picked a side. I had picked it during the premiere because I just thought things were just very off-putting at that point, and I was like, Blake Lively, why are you behaving this way towards Justin Baldoni, who hired you for this film? And then all the things that then started coming out with her wanting to take control. And it appears that he tried his very best just to be professional, to keep things on track and get this movie, to the silver screen. As I mean, that's your whole goal as a producer. So I'm definitely on a team Justin Baldoni. Chelsea, how about you?
Team Justin Baldoni.
Team Justin. Kelly?
Yeah, same for me.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, ladies. Do we have anything else to say about Blake and Justin?
No, we'll see.
I'm interested to see how it pans out, and I wish the best for Justin's side. I mean,
I do too.
Yeah.
I really do. All right. Well, that wraps up this segment of Message from Mom, and we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with New and Noteworthy. And we're back with my favorite segment where we share, maybe it's a new product, maybe it's a new book, maybe it's something noteworthy. But this is where we're just girlfriends just sharing our favorite things of the week. And Kelly, I will kick it off with you.
All right.
You have new or noteworthy?
Kind of both, maybe. So I really love Stanley Tucci as an actor,
I love him too.
and I love him as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love his Instagram account. I think it's so cute and sweet. His little cocktails and recipes that he does.
He had a
I absolutely
martini that
love it.
went viral, I think,
Yeah.
during COVID.
Yeah.
So,
So he just came out with a new book, probably several months ago now, but it's called "What I Ate in 1 Year and Related Thoughts." So this is
saw that, and I've been wanting
and
to.
he's Italian too.
He is
so I'm
Italian.
sure it's
Did you listen to it or
really
did you
good.
read it?
listen.
Okay.
Yeah, audio. I really like. So I read his first book on audiobook, and he narrates it, which is such a great way to listen to a memoir because it's in their voice. They're relating the stories from their life in their own voice, and I just think that it goes so far to make it a way more entertaining thing to consume as far as just whether it's a book or whatever. But anyway, so the new memoir, he basically tells stories of what he ate in 1 year, and along the way, he's like basically highlighting how important it is to share meals together and to just how big of a thing food is in our life, and it refuels not only our bodies but our spirits and minds and things. And so it's just a very sweet and touching book, and because he's reading it, you can hear his voice, and he's kind of sarcastic and kind of funny sometimes, and so his tone is just really really perfect. So I recommend that book to read for sure, but if you do like audiobooks or are interested in it, it's really wonderful to have him narrate it.
So do we know? So if the hard copy book, does that have actual recipes in it, or it's just really his memoir?
I think he does have some recipes in it. Honestly, I don't know because I haven't flipped through pages of anything because like I said, I just get the audiobook and download it to my phone, and I don't really pay attention to what's going on there. But but his first book did have.
I love him. Well, I kind of think that maybe there might be one or two, but
I think
anyway,
there are.
I'm going to get it, and sometimes I get not only the audiobook, but then I get the hard.
I can't do the
copy
audio.
too.
I have to read it. Otherwise, I'll notice, like, I just won't pay attention.
Yeah.
And then have to go back. But
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's
for
a
that
good one.
recommendation. Okay, Chelsea. So what do you have?
I have a movie that's new, and it just came out. Me and Andrew just watched it, but Heretic. I might be pronouncing that not
That's right.
correctly.
Is it a horror movie?
It's like a thriller horror movie.
It's not really very scary though.
Oh, it's not scary.
I didn't think so.
I could even watch it.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah,
could.
I don't
watch
like
it.
scary movies.
It's more of like piecing,
especially since I'm single. And usually I watch these things at
more
night.
of maybe
and I
like a
get
mystery,
scared.
like piecing things together.
I think it's more of a thriller than a horror.
Yeah, more of a thriller.
Okay.
But basically, it's about these two girls that are Mormon, and they're going door to door to try to convert people to Christianity or to the Church of Latter-day Saints, and then they come across this one guy's door, and I'll just leave it at that. It gets a little creepy.
Okay.
So, but you do have to mention though that the guy is played by Hugh Grant.
Oh yeah, the guy. So he is played by Hugh Grant. So he's like the notable actor in this. And actually, I thought I like thriller, horror movies, and it was actually really interesting. Kind of made me think a little bit about it after I watched it, which not every movie that I watch makes me think about it after. So I thought it was.
It's also just really great to see Hugh Grant doing something so weird and different.
I know. He's a really good actor.
It was interesting to see him in that setting.
Yeah, he's taken on much different roles as he's aged, and I really appreciate that.
I am glad that he has made that transition and decided to go a different route with the latter half of his career because it is so much more interesting.
Yeah,
I've
he
always
did a really
liked
good
him.
job
Did he?
too. Yeah, I thought
he's
he
great
did a
in
great
it.
job.
He is hilarious to watch as an interviewee. He does a great job.
Yeah.
He has some really great stories too. He's really funny. So, well, thank you for that recommendation. So I'll round it out. So I actually have a product. So I purchased this Amazon Prime Days right before Christmas. So I have an espresso machine. That's my coffee machine. And I do absolutely love that. But I was wanting to go just like one step further. And both you and Andrew and you and AJ have these fully automatic espresso machines.
Bravo Touch or something.
Which are pretty cool. So I went with the KitchenAid one. And I love it. So it really is very automatic. So, so I don't have to press all these buttons with a fancy dancy espresso machine. So you just put the beans in. You can pick, I think there's like 16 different coffees that I could choose. I can have an espresso. I can have a cafe au lait. I could do an Americano, regular coffee. I mean, lots of choices over there. And it's just like one button and it just grinds everything up and it's really lovely.
Yeah.
It's a really great cup of coffee and I can even manipulate like the strength of it. There's lots of things that you can pre-program. And so that is my, it's new and it's noteworthy to me. And boy, do I recommend it. It's not cheap. Definitely. I mean, none of them are very cheap. And I actually have the entry level machine. So I was really happy that I purchased it on Amazon Prime days, but I'm telling you, I absolutely love it. So
nice.
Okay, well, ladies, that wraps up another episode of Message for Mom, where we're busting the myth that mothers-in-law aren't necessarily monsters-in-law.